Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy, a production of Sweat Angles. I'm John Ruggi.
And I'm Matt Sharp. Today we'll be talking with Mike Kratochwill, Senior Director of Marketing for Reebok Training. As part of his role with Reebok, Mike has helped launch over 100 gyms, including his very own CrossFit Mefield. Mike was able to learn a great deal about launching a gym in a very short period of time, and today he's going to share some of the lessons he's learned along the way. Without further ado, here's Mike Kratochwill. So I met Mike a couple years ago at Affiliate Owners Barbecue. Reebok throws those for the affiliate owners that they have a close relationship with. And I have to say, I came into it not really knowing what a big corporate brand could do for us as a small business owners. And I was very skeptical. But after having a couple of other owners vouch for what Mike and their brand has done for their gyms, it became evident to me really quickly that Reebok has really embraced the training mentality, both corporately and just internally. And anyway, got to make friends with Mike there and have had a pretty good relationship with him ever since then. And since meeting Mike, I've always wanted to help share his story of how, he in particular got interested in the fitness space and how that translated to him opening up his own gyms. So Mike, would love to hear some of that, hear some background on how you got interested in that and how that translated into you open up your own fitness facility.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a little bit long-winded, but let me give it a shot. So I've been at Reebok for about 15 years, and about 5 years ago, we were looking to reinvent our brand as a company. And when we were really successful as a brand, we were deep into the fitness space. And back then, that was aerobics phase. Back in the 80s and 90s, we really created that aerobics movement. And we benefited from it, obviously, from a footwear and apparel standpoint. We sold a lot of product in that space. And it really, in the end of the day, that was our heritage as a company. It always will be our heritage as a fitness company. And since then, we've done a lot of things and got into sport and the NFL arrangements and Major League Baseball and the NBA. But we really didn't have a unique position with the consumer. And 5 years ago, we decided to reinvent ourselves back to becoming a fitness and training brand. And that's when I moved over from my role as a basketball product manager onto our fitness and training team. And it was a very small team, and we were set with the mission of how do we reinvent our brand. And during that process, we found CrossFit, and it really was kind of life-changing on so many levels for me and many of the people in our company. And we knew right away like CrossFit was something that we needed to be a part of. It's everything we were looking for inventing our brand. So, functional fitness and community and everything that comes with CrossFit, everything we know about CrossFit, we knew that we needed to be part of that because that was going to help us kind of show the consumer out there that we are this authentic fitness and training brand. So we set out initially of signing a partnership with CrossFit, and my first really project or first mission was to figure out how do we ingrain our any key stakeholders in our business from a Reebok standpoint into the CrossFit methodology and mindset. Because at the time, 5 years ago, there was only 1,500 affiliates. Mm-hmm. So it was still, and it was really focused in the English-speaking countries, so the U.S., the U.K., Australia. It was really where there was a large base of CrossFit affiliates. But outside of that, most markets, it really was not much from an affiliate standpoint, and really there was no real awareness of CrossFit. So my goal was, how do I help CrossFit grow and create awareness globally, and how, more importantly, how do I get key stakeholders in our business, whether it be our own employees, any product people, retailers that we do work with, agencies, how do we get them involved in our brand? And how do we get them involved in CrossFit specifically? So my job was to really work around the world, build relationships with coaches around the world, and help them open up CrossFit gyms. And these were co-branded Reebok CrossFit gyms. And we opened over a 2-year period. We helped open 108 different CrossFit affiliates, Reebok CrossFit gyms in 36 different countries. So during that time, my role was to do everything I could and provide resources for those coaches to get up and running. And in some cases, it was financial, giving them granting them some startup capital to open their gyms. In other ways, it was providing expertise, whether it would be lease negotiations or how to manage a P&L to type of marketing they should be doing, whether it be social media type marketing. So over that 2-year period, globally in all these countries, I developed this institutional knowledge of essentially how do you open up a CrossFit gym. So, not only that, in that process, I fell in love with CrossFit. My family fell in love with CrossFit. Our employees at Reebok fell in love with CrossFit, and it really manifests itself in how we market ourselves within the CrossFit space and the functional fitness space, and more importantly, how our product really speaks to that CrossFit community.
It's a really interesting approach that you guys took early on. Instead of just providing products for the CrossFit industry, you got involved directly with box owners and helping them, start and grow their businesses. What led to that decision to get involved in that way?
So we knew, I'll remember this meeting forever. Sitting in this from my picture, exactly where I was sitting, who was around the table. It's one of those things that's kind of burned into my memory. And I remember during that time, we're like, well, if we're going to do this, this is a really special, unique community. And for us to do this, there's no bullshitting. We knew that right away. You can't bullshit your way through this community. And we said to ourselves, if we're going to do this, we're going to commit. And we any big company like ours has performance and management metrics, right? You have your performance review at the end of the year. And all of us in our written down performance metrics, we wrote down our number one goal and priority was that the CrossFit community would say, in quotation marks, Reebok gets it. And that was our goal. And so it was kind of unique for a big corporation like ours. Usually you have these fluffy targets and goals and objectives, but ours was really succinct and to the point. Like, we wanted to make sure that the CrossFit community truly understood that Reebok gets it. And that was really important to our team. And fortunately, we had the right people on the team, and we had a lot of support from senior management to make this happen. And right up to our president of our company, Matt O'Toole, from day one was an active CrossFitter. So we really that was our goals and objective, and we can speak a little bit about how it's over time, those 5 years we've kind of embedded ourselves in the community, but that was really important to us.
So one of the things that I was kind of blown away with when I came to visit Reebok HQ was it's basically Disneyland for fitness, and can you walk us through that first year where you guys said, all right, let's do this, to how it has transformed everything top down in that company? From opening one to, I remember when we were even there, you were talking about you even changed the way you serve food and the type of food you serve at Reebok.
Yeah, so I mean, I actually had an affiliate owner's dream at the time. So a month before we signed the partnership with CrossFit, we agreed in principle to a 10-year contract with CrossFit, and this was 30 days before we had a major global marketing meeting for Reebok. It's where we bring in about 700 sales and marketing folks from around the world to our headquarters, and we wanted to launch our partnership with CrossFit. And so the president of the company, Matt O'Toole, came to me and said, all right, your first job is we need to open up a box on campus, and you have 30 days. And I was like, okay. And he says, whatever you need to spend. So it was an affiliate owner's dream. He's basically said, I'll give you, let's say, $100,000 to equip out this space. Find a space and equipped it out. And $100,000 is quite a lot of money for any affiliate.
Especially back then.
Yeah. So the first thing I did is I walked around campus and said, where can we put this thing? And we started out, we found this little kind of probably 1,000 square foot space. We're like, this would be a great place to start a box. And after a few days of thinking about it, like, I don't think this is going to be big enough based on the size of this company. And fortunately, we had a warehouse on campus. It's about 400 meters from our main building. It's an old warehouse that was about 5,000 square feet, loaded up from floor to ceiling with old storage stuff that was 10, 15, 20 years old. It looked like an overstuffed Costco, I guess the best visual I can give you. Yeah, exactly. There was some old Shaq shoes in there. And basically, we're right at it. We came up with the design of the space. We cleared everything out. I called Bill Henniger at Rogue. I didn't know Bill. I really didn't know much about CrossFit, quite honestly, at the time. I contacted CrossFit HQ, Andy Stump, said, why don't you call Bill, tell him what you want to get. And you tell how much you want to spend. And I called Bill and said, hey, Bill, I have $100,000. How much equipment can I get? And Bill's like, all right, I think we can work with that. And we basically had 30 days. We cleared out the space. Bill brought his team out. Actually, the first CrossFit I ever met was Rob Orlando, who was working with CrossFit at the time. I met him. I remember to this day meeting him in the parking lot, saying, "Hey, I'm with Rogue. I'm going to help you guys build out the gym." And obviously, a very super nice guy. And we spent like 3 or 4 days building out the gym, and we opened the gym the day we signed the partnership with CrossFit. It was a kind of monumental moment for us. We had Coach Glassman and Matt O'Toole and our senior management team there signing the contract, and we opened the doors. It was the same day we had our global brand conference. So it was really, it was September 25th of 2011. It was a pretty cool, iconic day for us, opening the gym, signing the partnership, and really launching CrossFit within our company.
And you were telling me earlier today that you came from the basketball space, and then you were doing basketball products anyway, and then you moved over to the CrossFit side of things. Talk about that transition. What were some of the things that were really surprising to you when you first got into CrossFit, and how did that compare to some of the traditional sports that you had been involved in?
Yeah, I mean, my career at Reebok, I've been a product manager, so my background's more engineering side, and then I moved into product. So I was more of a business person, managing a product line globally and coming up with products and coming up with marketing stories to how to sell that product. So I quite honestly didn't have a lot of business development and sports marketing background or experience, which is really what my role is now. It's more of it's sports marketing, non-traditional sports marketing role, but also business development. So there's a lot of things to learn in that space. But I think like anything else in life, if it's something that you feel it's important to you, both on a personal and professional level, you just need to dive in, right? And I think that's so true at CrossFit. I mean, there's some workouts some days I just don't want to get in that gym, but you just got to commit and get in. And I knew right away, and that's always been my personality, is I'm going to do something. I'm going to try to do it right, and I'm going to try to build relationships the best I can, and I'm going to try to listen and learn. And I think that's, one thing many people have told me, and I've learned this over time, and it really sticks with me, is sometimes just listening is a really important skill. So I think that's probably the thing I had to learn the most when I first started. I felt like I knew everything on the product side, and I knew how to build a line and market it. But when it came to CrossFit, I quite honestly didn't know anything. I didn't know much about the program. I didn't know much about the community. I didn't know what we wanted to do, but I did know that there were some people out there that knew about CrossFit, and I just listened, and our company listened. And when we first started designing and developed product, we basically brought in an athlete or two a week. And that's how we started building relationships with these athletes. We brought them in and we asked them, please bring in all your product, footwear, apparel, bring in stuff you like, bring in things you don't like. And we sat in a room with our designers and developers and videotaped. We have hundreds of hours of videotape of athletes telling us what they liked about product, what they didn't like about product. And we really did listen. I mean, we were like sponges. And it worked. It really did. We started out with some really great product, and we continue to listen, and hopefully continue to make great product on that space.
It was a completely new line of products, right? It wasn't, you're not pulling from something else. This is a whole new sport. It's a whole new product. So you're building it from scratch.
Completely. Yeah, completely. And, in any footwear and apparel space, or a lot of product, you come up with some really good product, but you always put some kind of marketing spin on it, like why this is important. The beauty of CrossFit, and I know the reason why we're successful in that space from a product standpoint, is that there's no bullshit involved. I mean, we're making the best product for CrossFitters, and that's based on what their needs are. We're not making things up. We know what their needs are. We know what their durability requirements are in product. And not just with the Nano, whether it be a lifting shoe or running shoes or sprint shoes. So we're listening to the community, both on the athlete and affiliate side, and we're building product that's based on function. It really, truly supports them. So when you do that, that's easy. You just listen and make good product. And the beauty of that is everybody in our company who touches the product, whether it be product managers, whether it be our sports marketing folks like my team, or our designers or developers, they're active CrossFitters. And that's the benefit of having a CrossFit gym on campus at our headquarters, is that we have all of our people who touch our business on all levels are CrossFitters. So you when you're building product for yourself, it's a lot easier to do because you know what you need. So again, you can kind of scrape away all the fluff and get right to the heart of what you need from a product standpoint.
Right. Instead of worrying about how to market it or how to sell it, you're just building it from the ground up, and it's something great that's meets a need that people have. Then that's 90% of the way there.
And that's CrossFit, right?
Right.
You don't think about how you market it. I mean, obviously you do. As affiliate owners, you need to think about how you market yourself. But at the end of the day, you make it.
Right.
And this is one thing Coach Glassman has said and overtly, and people have heard this message, and it's the one thing that always sticks with me is you always pursue excellence, and then money will follow. So if you're pursuing money, you make bad decisions. You make money based on decisions. But if you make the best product you can, whether that is the best training for your client or the best experience or the best footwear, if you pursue excellence, people will find you, and then they'll pay you for it.
So I think it's kind of cool how you guys built that product from the ground up, and in the same fashion. There's probably a lot of similarities in how that Reebok One was built, and then how the lessons you learned from that, and how you use that to help some of these other gyms open. Because this was a new product, the footwear was new, but this is also a new type of gym. It's a new business as well.
Yeah, and our gym on campus is not your traditional affiliate in that it's only for Reebok employees. So it's very, very different in terms of how we operate from the traditional affiliate. Obviously, a traditional affiliate, you're out there trying to grow your membership base. And obviously, you're doing a lot of things to build your business. But the core element of what we do at Reebok CrossFit One that all gyms should do and do is we're still, again, pursuing excellence. So we're trying to create the best experience for our members, and those members just happen to be Reebok employees because we still want them to come, whether they're paying to come as a traditional member would do or they're coming because they're a Reebok employee. We want them to come to the gym. There's other things that an employee can do for fitness. You can go out for runs. We have a fully loaded fitness facility on campus with cardio equipment. And so there's other things that our employees can do. But so running the gym, and Austin Malleolo is our head coach there, he's myopically focused on making sure that the experience is amazing. And he's diligent. He's one of the I've learned a lot from him in terms of how he runs the coaching staff, how he manages that coaching staff, how he develops those coaches. So there's a lot of things that I've learned from him there that does obviously translate to an affiliate. So I think the back to your original point is some of the things we've learned at Reebok CrossFit One that helps us for all affiliates is, again, creating that great experience.
Yeah, and so it's really cool that you guys have built that amazing experience there. How did you use that knowledge to first pick who you guys were going to open some of these affiliates with, and then how did you kind of equip those guys with the tools to succeed? Because you guys did have one. You kind of had a base standard of the product, but there's other things that are involved in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think Reebok CrossFit One helped us open up new gyms around the world because it was happening in parallel. So essentially, Reebok CrossFit One opened, and at the same point, I was out looking for other other relationships out there to help open up gyms. So as we went along that process in parallel, we were learning some things that we could impart on new relationships. But again, it was really back to listening. So I would reach out to at the time I was probably working 18, 20-hour days, and we talked about this last night at dinner. I was on the phone or on video conferences 24/7 with all of our countries around the world that we do business with, and working with them and seeing if they could find who are those passionate CrossFit coaches out there, influencers that were interested in opening gyms. So that was our model. And we work closely with CrossFit HQ with this. Do you guys have folks on seminar staff? Are there people out there that you think would like to open up an affiliate? And we're here to help. So we were really about finding the right coach, then helping them find the right location that they could run a profitable business, but two, we could have a location where it's relatively high traffic, so the consumer could see CrossFit more and learn about CrossFit, be aware about CrossFit, and more, just as important, know a little bit more about Reebok as well and be part of that.
So you guys were identifying kind of the first thing was to find the right people.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then the product would follow.
Yes.
And then you guys would provide support
Yeah.
as far as the back end. And a lot of those things that most CrossFits, and I'm sure you've seen thousands, a lot of them struggle with the back end and stuff, but they're very, very passionate. They have a great product.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you guys were looking for that first, because I agree. I think that's one of the most important things, and everything will flow off of the right person.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you could have a beautiful facility all built out and all the right back office systems in place, but if you don't have a great coach and great coaching staff,
You can only go so far.
You can only go so. It's all about the product at the end of the day. So we've identified the right people, and then provided them with support to get up the ground. Sometimes that was financial, connecting them, and Bill and Katie at Rogue were really super supportive in that space, and we worked out programs where they were helping us get some discounted product for these affiliates so that they can get up and running, and we were helping them with simple stuff like lease negotiations, which if you're a passionate coach, you may not know how to negotiate a lease and what to do in that space. And me personally, I think that's probably the one thing I learned the most from, because I'm one of these guys that I always been one of the guys like, I take whatever the proposal is and I'll make it work, as opposed to with a lease negotiation. One advice I have for affiliates is you don't, and I learned this from Jason Kleeper as well, is you don't get something you don't ask for. So everything in a lease is negotiable, and you never know. You never know what a landlord will agree to. So my advice to an affiliate owner is clearly understand and know what you need from a lease, whether it's the monthly payment, whether what's included in a lease, whether it's the overall term, whether it's the room for growth long term. You come up with what you want and what you need, and be steadfast to that, and negotiate based on that, and be focused on that, and get what you need. If you can't get what you need, then you have to reassess, is this the right location? And I did find through this process, because I helped negotiate probably 80 to 100 leases over that 2-year period, I did learn a lot about finding out what the hot button is for a landlord. Sometimes it was just they want a number, and they may not want it year one. They might want a certain number by year 3 or 4. So work to get that. Or they might want, the most important thing is a long-term lease. So find out what that hot button is for that landlord, and know what your kind of key levers are, what you need, and then don't be afraid to ask.
So real specific with that, because I think a lot of people underestimate that what you're talking about. When you say they're looking for a number, can you walk them through how you mean? And I'm assuming you're talking about they don't have to get the number year one, but you can build up to that, and make it sound a lot better.
Yeah. So they may come at you and say, hey, I want a 5-year lease, and I want it to be $5,000 per month. So what's $5,000 per month times 12 months is $60,000 a year. Over 5 years, I want $300,000. Over this 5-year period, I want to be able to drive $300,000 in revenue from you leasing the space.
And for a new owner, he might see that and be like,
oh my gosh,
there's no way I can't do that.
I can't do that. Yeah. Now, that's where if you have the right business model and understand what your P&L is, you could go back to that landlord and say, I'll get you to $300,000 over 5 years, but you got to work with me early on. And that first year needs to be $3,500 or $4,000 a month. And we'll get to $6,000 by later on in the years 4 and 5 when I have some cash flow. But for me to make this work and for me to be successful, I need to have a lower cost structure early on so that my cash flow's in my favor. And I'll be honest with you, I'd say 99% of landlords will understand that, appreciate it, actually want that. Because the last thing they want to do is get into a long-term lease with you, and in year one you're failing and you're struggling, and then you got to figure out a way to get out of the lease.
It's probably even scarier for them if they say, we want to get to 300, and you just say, well, sure.
Yeah.
And sign off on
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
It doesn't instill a lot of confidence in the
not at all.
in the person moving
not at all. And if I'm a landlord and the other person on the other side's not negotiating with me, then I'm questioning, does this guy have the right business skills to be successful?
That's a good tip.
Yeah, to be successful.
So a little while later into this process of helping other box owners get started, you had a chance to open your own box, right? Not everyone knows this, but you're a box.
Yeah, I did. I did, and through my life, I've always wanted to start my own business, and I either found something that was like, wow, this is a good business model. I can make a lot of money doing that. But I'm like, do I really want to do that? It wasn't really exciting to me. Or I found something that, wow, this is really cool. I'd love to be a part of it. But can you really make money doing this? Not that money's important, but obviously to keep a business running and sustainable and support my family, obviously you need to make income. So I never had found something that was match both, like something that I loved and something I knew could be a profitable, long-term, sustainable business. And after helping affiliates for 2 years, almost 3 years, open up gyms, like, wow, wait a second, I think I know a few things here.
How many did you help open over that time?
We opened 100, or I want to say, I hate to say we opened, but we helped open 108 gyms in 36 different countries. So, I mean, I'm in a very unique situation. Like, not many people have that ability to be part of something and work for a company, but all at the same time be able to be like have my feet on the ground in all these different countries and learn something. And so I learned a lot without having to spend any money to do it.
In a very short amount of time.
In a very short amount of time. So there was a lot of hours put in to do that, but it was definitely a short amount of time. So I looked at it, I was like, wow, this might be something I should do. Like I said, I love this. My family loved it. And then I, in the hometown I lived in, I looked and I said, I can't believe there's not a CrossFit gym in my town and the surrounding towns.
How big is the town?
My town is Medfield, Massachusetts. It's about 18,000 people that live population. Not a very big town. Small, typical suburban New England town. Great school systems, really nice people. I wouldn't say Norman Rockwell, but it's close to it, right? It's very kind of that feel to it. And some of the surrounding towns, it was an affiliate as well. And I said, wow, what a miss, because this is the perfect demographic. This is relatively high income families, and more importantly, very educated. These are not like old school money. This is working professionals, lawyers, doctors, marketing professionals, investment
very
bankers.
driven people too.
Very driven people, very educated people, had some income. It's not a transient town. The town is people move to the town because of the school systems, great school systems. And when that happens, you move in the town, people do not leave. So they're there for 10, 15 years. So that's a great formula for a CrossFit affiliate. If you have a suburban location with high income people that are working professionals and they're very educated. Yeah, a lot of good nuggets. Like, I looked and said, wow, this is a really good opportunity because these people will be passionate. You give them a good product, they understand value. They understand that when you give them something, they're willing to pay. They're not going to overpay, but they're willing to pay for value. And I knew I could provide value. And fortunately, during that process, I was thinking about it. I was like, well, how do I do this? I love my job at Reebok. I do not want to leave Reebok. To make this happen, I need somebody to manage this full time. And at the time, Spencer Hendel, who's a games athlete, actually competing this year in the games, was coaching at Reebok CrossFit 1. And we have a program there where our coaches stay for about a year and a half and learn some things from Austin from a coaching standpoint, and then move on and open their own affiliates. And just by circumstance, Austin said, hey, if you talk to Spencer, he's thinking about opening a box. And I'm like, hey, we started chatting one day, and I'm like, wow, I like this guy. I mean, I knew him really well, and we talked, and I'll tell you, he's a great friend. He's probably the nicest guy I've ever met in the world of CrossFit. He's the most loyal person I've ever met. And, my advice, another nugget, I guess, here is if you're going to have a partner, make sure it's somebody that you want to have a beer with. Make sure it's somebody you want to hang out with. Make sure he's got skill sets that are complete opposite of yours, I guess. And make sure that
nuggets.
Make sure he's loyal, right? And you can tell people who are loyal or not. And what I loved about Spencer was he's a guy that obviously grew up in the world of CrossFit. His father, Andy Hendel, owns a few gyms in the Charlotte area and grew up around CrossFit. So, and Andy's one of those old school CrossFit guys that knows the value of good coaching and commitment. And I knew right away Spencer was the right guy. And fortunately, we've built a good relationship together. And I guess another nugget, kind of divert a little bit, is we, as partners, we have clear lines of who's responsible for what. There's no gray area at all.
And that's because each one of you guys has things that you're really good at,
Yeah.
and you enjoy. And by finding a good fit, it really makes the business successful. I mean, you've probably seen a lot of businesses where guys like to be around guys that are just like them.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times you'll get affiliates open up. You'll have two guys who are great coaches, and they want to be partners and open up. And it's like, all right, well, who's gonna manage the finances? Who's gonna keep the books? And fortunately, my background and my skill set is marketing and business. So I'm really comfortable. I actually really enjoyed P&Ls and accounting, and I enjoy the marketing side of it, whether it's social media or a website. I don't enjoy paying the bills, but I do pay the bills.
And Spencer's probably happy to let you guys
Spencer,
do that.
Spencer loves, coaching. He's not just a great athlete, he's a better coach and even better person. And that manifests itself into a great product. So, what's good about our relationship is that Spencer can go home at night after a long day at the gym and not have to worry about paying bills or payroll or taxes, and the website's down, and somebody's credit card didn't go through. He doesn't have to worry about that stuff. What he can do is go home and worry about is, all right, what's the program look like for tomorrow? How am I going to motivate my coaches? How am I going to develop my coaches? So he's always focused on the experience. So he's the guy pursuing excellence, and I'm the guy that's the support mechanism around him, and it works out great. I mean, I have coached. I have my level 1, obviously, and I coach at the gym when we're really strapped for coaches that travel or on vacation. But, I don't think Spencer likes having me coaching because for the right reasons. Like he and the other coaches are better coaches, right? Like I love coaching. I love being part of it. But to make the best possible experience for our members, I should be doing the other things. So it works well.
And so for in the owners listing, you can start to piece together the formula that you guys have kind of developed, and you've seen probably successful businesses develop, and you kind of walk through that with, finding the right person, providing the right back end. If you're having a partner, making sure that you guys have very clear lines of responsibility, and that you do the things that you enjoy.
Yeah. And everybody's model is different. Business model is different. My business model, or our business model, was a lower cost structure model, meaning let's not from day one put ourselves in a huge hole. So our investment was relatively light. I was fortunate enough to negotiate a really favorable lease with our landlord, because the space was an old batting cage and it basically was going out of business, and the landlord was really struggling to get people to get in. It was really the perfect fit for a CrossFit gym. It was like an industrial area, somewhat off the beaten path.
Noise was not an issue.
Noise was not an issue at all. And so it was and that's a really important point. And this is something I actually learned from Ben Bergeron when I first started getting into CrossFit, talked to him and what his mindset was around opening up gyms and some of the things to look for. He goes, don't forget to talk to the landlord about noise. Like, let them know that there's going to be very early mornings, some late evenings, and there's going to be weights clanging, and there's going to be loud music playing.
And a lot of owners have paid the price for not having that laid out.
Yeah, and be clear. Be clear about that with the landlord and get it in writing in your lease. And that's important, because the last thing you want to do is open the doors and 3 months later you have neighbors complaining, and the landlord has to either say, oh, you got to turn the music down, or you can't drop weights, or you got to leave.
Because during certain workouts, you'll have 20 people plus drop a bar.
Yeah, it's loud.
From shoulder.
Yeah, and loud music.
It's really loud.
It's loud. Yeah, it's loud. So don't think, it's going to be fine. Like I'm not with any business or anything I do, I don't like the unknowns. Make sure you know. They may not be good knowns, but at least you know them. At least you go into a lease with a landlord and you make that expectation clear. Like, we're going to be loud, and it's going to be early mornings, and is that okay? And you need to get, not just a handshake
and maybe
from them.
running outside.
Yeah, there's going to be running outside. Are people okay with that? So make sure that the landlord is 100% clear what your product is, so that they're not surprised. Like, oh, wait, geez, I didn't really expect that. Like, I honestly, when I first looked at opening my space, I was looking in another town, and I found a place I really liked in a great town. And the only issue was the landlord was like, well, do you guys play music and what time? And I said, yeah. And we actually did a decibel test. I had loud music playing in the space, and they walked around the periphery where all the homes were and measured it on a decibel level, and they said, you know what, I think this is going to be too loud. I said, all right, well,
Not a good fit.
not a good fit. I got to walk away. Sorry. And I'm glad I did, because the last thing that would have happened is want to have this thing built up, ready to go, and be forced with either not being able to drop weights, not being able to play music, or have to leave. Right,
so you kind of have the formula now. You've got the place open. Spencer's the right guy. You're the right guy.
Yeah.
It's open. You're charging for membership. How does that go? And kind of what have you learned? Because it's been 2 years now.
2.5 years.
Yeah. So what have you learned? You know, you have the right formula, but now you have to put those things into place.
Yeah, and I think it's like anything else. Is I look back 2.5 years ago, I was like, why haven't we been doing this for the last 2.5 years? Like, you know, early on, our on-ramp program was not great. We were really struggling with how to do it the right way. We actually weren't even doing an on-ramp program because we were offering up class. Everybody was new at the time, and it was really new. Like, our community started truly from scratch. Like, I think maybe
no CrossFit background.
No, I mean, obviously the coaching staff and myself, we all CrossFit background, but the members, none of them knew what CrossFit was. So we were really raw. And so it wasn't like we started day one with 5 or 10, 15, 20 people that were CrossFitters. It was completely raw. So early on, it was on-ramp for everybody. And then once we started rolling, it was really struggle with, you know, how do we do an on-ramp program? Because when we want to offer the on-ramp program is our peak hours, because it's when most people want to be there, and we didn't have a good enough size space. So we really struggled with how to do on-ramp programs and stuff like that. But I think, you know, kind of back to your first point of like what we learned, I think over time I've learned, and we've always been steadfast. It's, again, my model, and everybody's model is different, or our model. Everybody's model is different. Our model is, let's keep our costs as low as possible. Let's build out a nice gym. It doesn't have to be overly built. As we grow, we'll dial up the space even more over time. Let's keep our costs low, so that I'm not going home every night like, oh, how am I going to find another member? How am I going to find another member? Because I'm always looking for growth and membership growth, but I'm not stressing over membership growth. We're doing things the right way. We're not anxious, I guess is the term I look for. We're working hard. We're creating a good experience. We're out there doing some things from a marketing standpoint, but we're comfortable with slow, steady growth.
And it's probably a better product that way, right?
It is.
You're not stressed out trying to get 500 members to pay the rent and the new equipment.
And if you look at, when you look at your expenses, say, all right, I know what my fixed expenses are. I know what my lease is. I know what my utilities look like. You know what your fixed expenses. Once you know what your fixed expenses are, then you know, like, all right, what do I need to make to be profitable on this gym? And then you know what your coaching expenses are. So all your other variable expenses that come with the gym is based on growth. So, like, if I need to add coaches to classes because we're growing, if you do it in a slow and steady manner, it's a lot easier than having 50 members one day and 2 weeks later have 75, because that changes up my cost structure, because it's not a bad problem, but then I have to have a second coach on the floor.
Product changes.
Yeah, the product changes. So that's important to us. We like to have one coach for every 10 to 12 athletes on the floor, depending on the coach.
Another nugget there.
Yeah. So some coaches, can manage a class of 12 to 15. Like a coach like Spencer, he was on CrossFit's Level 1 seminar staff for a few years and has been coaching for probably 7 years.
Probably a little more situational awareness.
He knows situational awareness. He knows how to cue people the right way. He knows how to observe and run a class. But, some of our newer coaches and younger coaches, they may only be able to handle like 8 people in a class. So we know what our coaches can handle, and we know what we want in a class. So with slow, steady growth, we might have our 5:30 a.m. class is our biggest class. When we first started, that was 5 people. 6 months later, it's 8 people. And 6 months later, it's 12 people. And another 6 months later, it's 15. So now we're up to like 20, 25 people. But it was slow, gradual growth, which, one, it made it easier for us to staff from a coaching standpoint. But 2, it also made it easier for these new members to get into the community. And as opposed to 5 new people coming in, one person comes in. And it just kind of happens over time, and next thing you know, that person's part of the community, and next person's part of the community, so that ingraining into the community is a lot easier when it's slow.
2 crowds together.
Instead of having your old CrossFitters, the old group, and then the new group. It's like the old group, and the old group just grows and grows and grows and grows.
So one of the things that I think is really important you talked about is the on-ramp program. And when I talk to other owners, I always try to get them to remember their first day of high school. And like when you're a freshman, you don't know where your locker is, you're scared to death. And I try to get them to look at those new members like that. And if you throw them in to senior class, it's not good for the seniors because they have this freshman in there, and it's not good for the freshmen because they feel super uncomfortable. So I'm glad you keyed on the on-ramp, because I think that's one of the things that not everybody really focuses on. But it's not only a way to make those people feel comfortable, but it's also you have a time to instill the value and really on-ramp them into your experience, not just how do you do these movements, but how do you be part of the community? What is important to us? Why are we different? Why are we more valuable? So
yeah, that's and I think honestly, it's probably the one thing we were late to the table learning is getting our on-ramp program to where it needed to be. And to your point, it's less so about the movements, right? The 9 foundational movements within CrossFit. Yeah, we obviously teach those throughout the on-ramp program, but it's really how you join this community. Like what do you do when you walk in the door? Like where are the cubbies? Where do I put stuff? How do I buy product? Perfect food bars or water.
How do you be a great member?
Yeah, how do I be a member? Where's the kitchen? Like that type of stuff. What's kind of the protocol in the class? That type of stuff. So we were really, I'll be honest, we were really late to the table on that piece of it. So we're just kind of getting to that point now where we feel like we have a pretty comfortable situation. And I think the reason we have that situation is we put one person in charge of that. Where early on it was kind of like in any new member request, I would be the guy that fielded that request, and then I would assign them to a different coach, and they were the kind of key contact. But now I have one person, so they have this seamless process of bringing people into on-ramp, educating them, following up with them, making sure that they're comfortable. And then once they're done with their on-ramp, knowing, all right, how do you want to proceed? And not sell them, but let them know what their options are when they're done with on-ramp.
Yeah. So earlier when we were talking, you spoke quite a bit about listening when you were designing the nanos, and I remember you telling us that you brought athletes in and you sat them down in a room and you got their feedback and you built the product based on that. Can you talk about how you listen to your members at your box? So what channels do you use? How do you make sure that you set aside the time to hear what both concerns from new members and existing members on how to make that experience better? How do you do that well?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is, I'll be honest, I know our staff, me included and Spencer, we're friends with most of our members at this point. Some more so than others, obviously. But so that inherently puts a mechanism in place where they're comfortable coming to us. They're not coming to us as a member. They're coming to us as a friend. Hey, it'd be nice if you get some more jump ropes. It's a different conversation where they don't feel like they're asking for something. They're being needy. They're like giving you honest feedback.
Sure.
What we did do early on is we identified who are some of the key influences in the gym, who are the people that people gravitate to and listen to. And we would, because not every member is going to come to us and say, although we have friends with many of them, come to us and say, there's something funky going on here. I don't like what's happening. But we do have kind of people out there that we trust that will come to us and say, hey, listen, I'm hearing this from a few members. Like they're not happy the fact that, the dumbbells have been dirty lately or whatever the situation is. So we have a few people out there that are members that we trust. And
kind of like a brand ambassador.
Yeah, they're brand ambassadors. I want to use the term mole, but that's a bad term because they're not that.
They're just more honest.
They're our eyes and ears, I guess is the best thing.
You get those conversations that happen after class, like, oh, hey, did you hear about this? Or, these plates are always loose or whatever. And you're right, not everyone's going to come forward and tell the coach or the owner. So identifying those people is really critical.
And we do other things. We assign our coaches X number of members that once a month they'll send them some kind of email like, hey, how's it going? Congratulations on the birth of your baby, or happy birthday, or just, hey, just want to check in, haven't seen you in a few weeks, or whatever. So each one of our coaches gets assigned a certain number of members, and they send out an email just to check in. So that turns into a feedback loop as well, because then most times it's like, yeah, everything's great, or something. Hey, you know what? I got a car accident a few days ago, and I'm hurt. And they're like, all right, well, and then we go, oh, well, come in the gym and we'll figure out how to scale you appropriately. So we have that as a feedback mechanism. And then finally, I think we're just a place where I think our members are comfortable coming to us if there's a major issue, a minor issue, or just want to talk.
So you said each coach has a certain number of athletes that they're responsible for following up with. What is that number roughly?
We're at about 200 members, about 4 or 5 coaches. So you're talking like 40 people or so per
40
person. Yeah.
Okay.
And when I say that, this is not like a daily follow-up. This is like, and we'll rotate different members. So you don't always have the same member. It's really just checking in. It's more clerical. I guess it's probably more clerical than it is anything. It's not like, hey, you have those 40 members. You need to check in with them every few days, see how they're doing. It's more of you just hearing from us in a different way, I guess, not just seeing us in the gym.
So one of the things that we skimmed over a little bit, and I don't want owners to miss it because it's very, very important, is when something is important, it has an owner. And when you are talking about how you have really buttoned up processes in other areas, but then you had this process where maybe somebody was interested and it didn't really have like somebody that just was obsessed with that person and got them through a lead into somebody that was a prospect into a member, how you got to that and how much better probably that is now that somebody owns that interested person.
Yeah, and that's for everything we do. And this is probably the biggest thing I've learned in my career, not just owning the gym, but at Reebok or in other jobs I've had, is I've always been this guy is like I felt like I really had a good hold on things that I was doing, and I always wanted to kind of do it myself and not empower others. I don't like the word delegate because delegate tells me that I'm telling you to go do something. I use the word empower because it's feel like I'm going to give you tools and resources to execute a task, but you're empowered to make some decisions and make it work. And I learned that at Reebok, and fortunately, I have an amazing team at Reebok that I empower them. Like my job is to give them tools, give them resources, give them some guidance, give them some goals and objectives, and let them go after it and make it happen. And the same thing is with our gym is, we give people, we empower them to make things happen. And Sweat Angels is the perfect example. Actually, Matt and I have been friends for probably 3 years now, I think. Yeah, 3 years. And he's like, when are you going to, and we opened my gym up 2.5 years ago. It's like every couple months.
All right,
when are you going to sign up for Sweat Angels? Yeah, I'm going to get to it. And it was one of those things I couldn't get to it because it was important to me, but they said so many other things on my list. And finally, I was like, all right, I just got to have somebody on my team do it. And fortunately, I have a guy on my team, Luis Alvarez, who's just
awesome.
An amazing guy. Heart of an angel, not to use the term, but he's just a really great guy. And I said, Luis, would you mind taking the ball and running with this? He's like, oh, absolutely. I love to do this. So I kind of kicked myself in the butt. Like, why didn't I do this 6 months ago? Because one, I gave something to somebody, one of my employees. Sometimes money is great, but giving them money's, obviously you got to pay your coaches, you got to pay them
but driven
well.
people
but
need purpose.
Driven people need purpose. So I gave him something that he could kind of sink his teeth into, be proud of, and drive. And he's done a great job. And I wish I did it a year ago because I have seen some really solid results and growth over the last 3 months since we've been doing.
And that's a great story because, and obviously it's funny, but I was always bugging you. I'm like, hey, what's going on, Mike? I know you're trying to get more members, and this is something we've learned. And you are always interested. But as soon as you gave that to Lewis, like he called me the next day, and he's like, I'm owning this. This is mine. Let's do it. I want to know everything there is about it. And you could tell that, like, for the gym, it was great because there was this guy that was just – he was all in on this program.
Yeah, and that's how we're approaching a lot of things. I mean, we've have – a lot of times, like, coaches need to be paid well, right? And – you always struggle with, I got to make enough money cash flow wise so I can really compensate my coaches because they deserve it. They work hard. But what I would say there is, when that comes down, give your coach something to own and make them earn what you're paying them, right? You just don't say, hey, you're going to coach X amount of class a week. I'm going to pay you $25 an hour, whatever you guys
give them
pay
an opportunity. Give
them something else. Like, we have a gentleman on our team, Brian Matero, who's just a great, great guy. Was actually started out as one of our members. passionate CrossFitter, really very, very good athletes, competed in like Granite Games and some other events. And he's like, hey, what can I do? I need like,
awesome.
I want to do some more things. And like, well, what do you like to do? And we got him into a CrossFit. I paid for him to go to a CrossFit football seminar with John Welborn because he really wanted to get into team training. And I said, Brian, you're going to own this, right? And I'm a big believer in sharing wealth and revenue with coaches who drive things. So I'm like, Brian, I'm going to give you, Spencer and I said, we're going to give you our team training program. It's all yours. I'm going to give you guidance. I'm going to give you some goals and objectives. I'm going to support you when you need it, but it's yours and you're going to own it and you're going to get 50% of that revenue. That's a big, and most people like cringe like, wow, you're going to give him 50% of the revenue? But like, I'd rather give him
He'll help build it.
I'd rather give him 50% of a lot of money than, nothing, right? So
Yeah.
it's a win-win. One, I keep a coach happy and committed and fulfilled and compensated, which is great, and it grows our gym as well. And we do the same with our kids and teens program. We struggle with that for a little bit because we really weren't doing the things we needed to do. And we had a guy on our team, Kevin Ryder, who we gave the teens and kids program to him, and did the same similar type of arrangement from a revenue sharing standpoint. And that program's 10 times bigger than it was a year ago since we've done it.
Yeah, and that's something that comes up over and over and over again with a lot of owners that I talk to. What else can we do to add value to the membership? What are some other things that we can add? And I say, do you have somebody on staff that is just obsessed with Olympic lifting? Yes. What about starting an Olympic lifting club? Give that person some ownership, start testing some classes out, and over again. And we've seen this a lot at Maximus. We went from kind of a one-trick pony to now we have an Olympic lifting club, a barbell club, a gymnastics club. But what's really cool for us is each one of those programs has an owner that is not me or one of the other owners. Each one of those programs is owned by the coach. And it's gotten to the point now where those guys have their own shirts, like they go out to eat together, and it's been really cool, like you said, if you give the right people purpose, just to kind of see what those guys do with it.
No, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I've really seen that, especially at Maximus. Max, I've known you for about, 4 years now?
Yeah.
When I started, you were very much involved in the day-to-day and just, making sure the gym ran, morning, noon, and night. And as you've grown, you've really invested a lot in your coaches. And like you said, not only grown the number of classes, but grown the number of members. And it's a much better experience for everyone because, they love CrossFit, but they want to try something new. They don't want to get burned out on doing the same thing week after week. And it's a great way to broaden and lengthen the experience because there's so many things to get involved with.
And because you have an owner, that thing gets the attention it needs. And then those people get loved on the way they should,
Yep.
So, Mike, you've been a box owner for 2.5 years now?
2.5 years, yes.
Okay, so what are your plans for the next 2 years?
Next 2 years?
Yeah.
Just, you know what? I mean, any business owner's got to have goals and objectives. I think if I look just focused on the affiliate, obviously my goals and objective for my career at Reebok is I want to continue to grow this partnership with CrossFit and continue to grow our presence in the community. Within respect to my affiliate or our affiliate, Spencer and I's affiliate, we still have a lot to do. I mean, we have about 200 members. We just recently expanded, so we have room for probably 400 members comfortably in that gym, very comfortably. So we're going to just focus on slow growth and get to that point. It could take 2 years. It could take 3 years. But we're in a comfortable stage right now. Now it's, just keep building the product, make it better. And, now that we have a bigger consumer base or a bigger membership base, that word's going to spread a little bit more and more. So, that's really our goal. I mean, we have conversations. Do we open a second location and do we look at some other things? But right now, I think we haven't maximized our opportunity with our current location. So why look at another location when we really haven't maximized our current location?
Yeah, that's great that you're focused on a quality experience over just growing quickly. Because you can grow quickly, but if those members don't stick around, you're going to constantly have to bring new people in.
And there's nothing wrong with growing quickly if you have the systems in place internally to make sure your experience is still
and the right
same.
people.
And the right people. Yeah, the right people experience. Like, you can grow. I mean, listen, if I could put on 100 members tomorrow and I felt like we could give the exact same service, sign me up. I'd do it. So I'm not saying don't try to grow because that's kind of crazy to think that's not the case, because the ultimate goal is I want to get as many people in the world CrossFitting, because I think it's truly transformational in terms of what it can do for people. So both from a business standpoint and a personal standpoint, I think it's amazing to be able to get more people into the gym. So growth is great. Just make sure you manage growth.
Mike, I appreciate you talking with us today. We have been friends for a few years, and it's always easy for people from the outside to see a brand and not really get to know those people. But I really encourage anybody that's interested to talk to anybody from Reebok. They are very invested in the community. They have really internalized this. If you ever get a chance, go by HQ, Reebok HQ, see the gym. Go in the store, see the employees. It's really Disneyland for a CrossFitter there, and or just even fitness in general. They have just really internalized this training concept, and I really appreciate it. And I think there's a lot, that we talked about today. That's there's some philosophical things, but there's also some very tactical things that owners can take away from this, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being with us, Mike.
Alrighty.
Thanks for listening today. The Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy was produced by Matt Sharp, Jeremy Russell, and me, John Lucci. We're publishing new episodes every 2 weeks, so make sure you don't miss a single one. Just search for Sweat Angels or The Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy on iTunes or SoundCloud.
We are a production of Sweat Angels, the #1 referral program for gym owners. Sweat Angels helps drive new members at your gym by combining Facebook check-ins with giving back. If you haven't heard of us, just go to Causley.com/Sweat Angels or search for us on Facebook. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Gym Owner's Guide to the Galaxy.
Should have done this last night at dinner. It's been great.
Bears.
Yeah.
And another thing,
And
Reebok.